Hello there. It's another time for another biology lesson, and this time around we'll be looking at the concluding part of relevance of biology to agriculture. Now, the objective of this lesson is to describe the effect of agricultural activities on the ecosystem, to state the pests of agricultural importance, describe briefly ways to control these pests, and state the diseases of agricultural. Moving along, we'll be looking at the effects of agricultural activities on the ecosystem. Some of the agricultural activities that interrupt natural cycles and disturb the balance of the ecosystem include bush burning and overgrazing. Now, looking at bush burning. Bush burning is the act of setting fire on the bush to clear vegetation, and definitely it destroys the organic matter or humus in the soil, which leads to soil infertility or loss of soil fertility. It leads to extinction of some plants and animals, and it also exposes soil to erosion and leaching. Overgrazing, on the other hand, occurs when more animals than what can be supported in a particular pasture are put there to graze. Now, it affects the ecosystem in the following ways. It exposes the soil to erosion and heat from sunlight. It also destroys soil structure because of continuous trampling by the animal's hoof. It encourages growth of weeds. Now, we also have fertilizer application. Now, fertilizer application is application of artificially prepared chemicals or substances to increase soil fertility. Now, this affects the ecosystem in the following ways. It kills useful soil organisms that come in direct contact with the excessive use, which can destroy the structure and porosity of the soil and also increase soil acidity. Now, if washed into nearby water bodies, it can cause eutrophication, which is the excessive growth of plants on water bodies. Now, eutrophication can lead to suffocation, which can kill aquatic organisms. This will lead to pollution of water. Also, the effect of application of pesticides and herbicides. Now, pesticides and herbicides are chemical substances used to destroy pests and weeds, and they affect the ecosystem in the following ways. They can cause pollution, kill useful plants and animals. When washed into aquatic habitats, can cause harm to aquatic organisms. They can also reduce the population of the targeted pest or plants or pests. Deforestation and bush clearing. Deforestation is the continuous removal of forest strands, either by burning bush or indiscriminate felling without replacing them. The effects on the ecosystem include encouraging soil erosion, hindering microorganisms' activities in the soil, reducing wildlife population, and also it will lead to extinction of some plant species. Whereas bush clearing is a practice whereby the whole vegetation is cleared and removed. Yes, leaving them clean. The effects include disturbing the activities of soil organisms and can lead to reduction in their number. It also exposes soil to direct sunlight, which can lead to loss of soil water by evaporation. It also removes plant cover and therefore exposes the soil. Other agricultural activities that can affect the ecosystem include tillage, monocropping, crop rotation, continuous cropping, shifting cultivation, and so on. Now, all these activities can either affect the ecosystem terribly or can also help the ecosystem as well, but generally they affect the ecosystem terribly. Moving along, we'll be looking at pests of agricultural importance. Now, a pest is any organism capable of causing damage to agricultural produce. Now, important pests of crops include insects, birds, rodents, monkey, man, and also nematodes. Now, as you can see in the picture here, we have various types of pests of agricultural importance. We have the snail, weevil, locust, stink bug, and now moving along, we'll be looking at the various classes of agricultural pests. Pests can be classified based on the part of the crop they attack, and these include stem borers, root feeders, young shoot feeders, leaf feeders, fruit and seed feeders. Now, looking at them one after the other, stem borers include pests that attack the stem of plants. Examples are larvae of certain moths that are capable of boring into stem of maize to feed on it. Root feeders. These are root-feeding insects such as insect larvae or adults. Examples are yam beetle, which are capable of burrowing into the ground feeds on yam tubers. Young shoot feeders. This includes pests that pierce and suck juice from young shoots of crop plants, such as cassava mealybug, whiteflies. Leaf feeders are capable of eating leaves of crops. Examples are snails, grasshoppers, locusts, and leaf-feeding beetles. Fruit and seed feeders. Examples are red bollworm, fruit-piercing moth, fruit flies, and certain beetles and cotton stem. How do we control these pests? Now, pests of crops can be controlled or prevented by the following method. Physical control. This involves physical methods such as hand picking of pests, such as insects and the larvae, setting traps to catch rodents and monkeys, shooting of pests with gun, and fencing the farm. Cultural method involves the use of farm practices to control pests on farmland. Examples are crop rotation, regular weeding, changing the time of planting, use of resistant varieties, harvesting at the right time, and bush burning. Biological method of control involves the introduction of the natural enemies of pests to control pest population. For instance, lady bird beetles or wasps larvae can be used to control the population of aphids since they feed on aphids. Chemical control involves the use of chemicals called pesticides to control plant pests. They are in form of powder, liquid granules, and tablets. Now, examples are insecticides, fungicides, herbicides, and rodenticides. Now we have come to the end of today's lesson. Now let's take a quick look at the summary. Some of the agricultural activities that interrupt natural cycles and disturb the balance of the ecosystem are tillage, application of fertilizers and pesticides, overgrazing, and so on. A pest is any organism capable of causing damage to agricultural produce. Important pests of crop include insects, birds, rodents, monkeys, man, and nematodes. Pests of crops can be controlled or prevented by the following methods: chemical, biological, physical, and cultural. Before we go, I want you to go through this assessment to see how much of the lessons that you have learned. So pause the video to endeavor to answer the question, and I'll see you again in the next lesson.